Marcus Bell is the creator, as he puts it, of the world's first AI music superstar. He's been a producer for the likes of Snoop Dogg and Nicki Minaj, and he thinks AI is the future of music. So what does that world look like? And how will AI impact human flesh and blood artists? We'll explore all of that and more on today's episode of AI Curious. My name is Jeff Wilser. I'm a journalist, I'm a human, and I'm curious about AI. And I am joined today by an absolute pioneer in AI and music, Marcus Bellringer Bell, who has a long and distinguished career as a performer and producer, both for artists like Snoop Dogg and for brands like Netflix and Sony. More recently, Marcus has used AI to create, from scratch, a virtual pop star. Her name is Ravyn Lyte, who has 250,000 followers on Instagram and is cranking out hits. Now, not only did Marcus use AI and a team of humans to create Ravyn Lyte, but he also used neuroscience to create music that is scientifically engineered to be soothing, to calm us down. It's a fascinating experiment, and more broadly, everything about Marcus is fascinating, as really this conversation gets into the crux of so many topics of AI and creativity. We get into, essentially, what does it mean to be an artist? What does it mean to create art? What is art? Can AI be an artist? And can AI create art? The small questions here. Marcus says yes to all of the above, and he makes the case for why. But this is not just some Pollyanna Kool-Aid drinking conversation about AI and art. There are real trade-offs. There are real concerns and risks. We get into the tension between AI music and normal non-AI music. Will this freeze out human artists? Is AI competitive? Will it make it harder for the singer-songwriter out there with a guitar or a piano trying to make ends meet? Are they now outgunned in an age of AI? Marcus, who in his bones is very artist-friendly, and he helps artists. He has companies and organizations that are giving back to artists. He has an answer for all of this. It's something he thinks about deeply, and his answer starts with both and. And around halfway through our conversation, Marcus comes out with a very spicy take. It's a pretty hot one, that AI is not just capable of creating music that sounds goodish or as good as a human or indistinguishable from a human. Like, those are arguments I've heard before. I've also heard the arguments, and we get into this, that AI will help make music more inclusive, make it easier to create, so it kind of democratizes things, it cuts down costs and all that. Yes, we go through all that. But Marcus makes an even stronger case that AI can help artists create better music. In the long term, thanks to AI, Marcus thinks that as a society, we'll have better music than ever before in human history, and more personalized music. He really sketches out this wild and interesting scenario of a golden age of music in the future. Marcus explains that his job as an AI evangelist is to help people go from fear to curiosity. That obviously very much aligns with me and this podcast, and I think you'll very much enjoy what he has to say. So with that, please enjoy my conversation with Marcus Bellringer Bell, producer extraordinaire and creator of the AI pop star Ravyn Lyte. Marcus, welcome to AI Curious.
Great to be here with you. And the funny thing about the title of this podcast, AI Curious, is curiosity is one of my core values, actually. Everything stems out of curiosity in my world.
Love that. I'm already loving your vibes here. Let's start with 2023. For years and years, you've been a top producer working with so many blue chip artists that our listeners will know, working with Netflix and Sony. You've had a impressive career in music, and then things changed for you in 2023. Talk a bit about this inflection point in your career and what led you from music to the wild world of AI.
Yeah. Well, first, just to give a little bit of context, I've been in the music industry literally my entire life. And I started creating music when I was 2 years old. And so I had a bit of a child prodigy background. And over my
Basically,
career,
Mozart's. I mean, wasn't Mozart older than two? I think you started a bit younger than Mozart. It sounds like. So,
yeah, well, they say they were playing classical music in my mother's womb at night, right? So maybe I started a little earlier than
sure.
Mozart. I'm not sure, but but yeah, over my career, I've written maybe 5,000 songs.
Wow.
So in the spirit of prolific creation,
Mm-hmm.
I every year do some type of challenge, uh, 100-day challenge. And back in COVID, I launched this 100-day challenge publicly. And midstream, Jeff, it was all of a sudden my 9-year-old daughter came home sick.
Mm.
And I said, oh no. So the next, morning I woke up with a sore throat and I'm like, oh my gosh. So all of a sudden I lost my voice. And what do I do now? Right? Because I'm not gonna quit the challenge because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a quitter. I'm a doer, I'm an overcomer, I'm unstoppable, right? I even have an album called I'm Unstoppable, I'm Persistent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I said, okay, well, there must be a way for me to clone my voice, right? There
Sure.
must be a way because all of a sudden I started seeing, new AI
Your
technology.
timing was quite good, sir. So this was the perfect moment in time for you to have this voice cloning need.
So in light of that, I said, okay, well, I had some affirmations that I did years ago,
Yeah.
and it was a recording of, I think it was like 30 minutes of affirmation. So I took those vocals and basically created a Marcus Bellringer clone
Mm-hmm.
of my voice and typed in to 11 Labs was the
Yep.
program I was using for that, and basically did an album worth of meditation music. So I took my voice and then I created music beds around it and all of that. And that just opened up the floodgates because now I've been using AI for about 15 years now.
Way before it was cool. OG in the AI space.
10 years ago, the one of the first consumer AI music tools came out 10 years ago, which helps people to master their songs and so forth. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Lander.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was using that the day that came out. Before, I was using, some AI engines for helping with writing and copywriting and things like that for some of my businesses. But nothing like the AI
Right.
revolution that just occurred.
So you for 15 years have had AI either on the back burner or front burner. It became very much in the front burner in 2023 to help you get through this challenge. You cloned your voice.
Mm.
What then sparked the idea for Ravyn Lyte? And let's get into what it was like to create her. Like, yes, I can do this. It's one thing to clone your voice,
Mm.
something else to create from scratch entire personality of an artist and give her a certain tone, personality, point of view. So yeah, walk us through how you got the idea and then what was your journey to create this what now seems to be a kind of fully formed successful pop star.
Yes, yeah, that's gone viral, basically. Well, after the whole 100 days music challenge, me being as curious as I am about
Mm-hmm.
technology and AI, I just did what I like to call an intentional imbalance. And an
Ooh.
intentional imbalance is when you go 100% into a topic, um, a path, right, for a specific period of time. And so I ate, drank, slept, dreamed AI in my intentional imbalance. And as I started playing with the tools and researching, okay, well, what are the other audio tools? And then with the audio, I said, okay, well, if I can train my speaking voice, I must be able to train my singing voice. And so I went on a mission. Where can I do that? How can
Yeah.
I do that? And then some things came out in the marketplace where they were, using trained singing voice. I think Kanye was like singing a Frank Sinatra
Right.
song.
Right. 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 Right.
Something that was going on in the marketplace. I said, where did they do that?
Yeah.
And at that moment, it was not easy to find. And I was at a party, and at this party, there was this DJ from the UK that was in town, and he's like, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I clone my speaking voice, but I got to clone my singing voice.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll text you the name of the company that does it. Well, I ended up reaching out to that company and talking to the CEO. And so I ended up cloning my singing voice. But here's the thing, that just opened up all kinds of possibilities. So all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, my singing voice could now sing in Spanish. My singing voice could now
Mm-hmm.
sing in other languages.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only my singing voice, but I could use other people's voice clones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sound like a woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I took my single, which I had released last year, called Cancel Everything. And I said, okay, with Cancel Everything, let me see if I can do a female version of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just using my
Mm-hmm.
voice. And so I did a female version of Cancel Everything, which hasn't been released yet, but it's better than my version of it. Me singing like a woman sounds better than me singing like
And of
me.
course, you'll get canceled for this, obviously, right? Singing like a woman, it is clearly cancelable. So it's very, very meta, this entire stunt. Love it. So
Yeah,
go on.
well, not only that, but like my daughter can use it and sound like me, right?
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
it's it's vocal fluid. I just made that up.
I like that.
Vocal fluid. So anyway, so I started looking at all these different elements. Well, what makes for an artist anyway, right? Uh, because I've been studying and supporting artists all my life. My company supports about 600 recording artists
Mm-hmm.
for placement in TV and film and mentorship and so forth. And the elements for creating an artist, right? It's like you have the visuals, you have the audio, you have the personality, you have the backstory, you have all these different elements, like you're
Mm-hmm.
building a world,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've always been interested and fascinated in how we build our worlds as
It's
human
so
beings.
interesting. You're almost like you could. It's so funny because I think there's a couple of different ways to interpret that question. What makes an artist, right? And I think there's one answer might be, oh, is it like this soul of creativity, this spark, almost a more philosophical answer. And I think that's a fair way to look at it. And we can go there later in the conversation.
Mm,
But there's another interpretation, which is where you went, which is so interesting, of almost like what creates like a music artist or an artist who's selling albums. And you're thinking almost like like you literally are a producer thinking, okay, there are certain elements, right? So like in the movie world, you have, all right, well, we have the screenplay, we have the set design, we have the choreography, we have the cinematographer. And so if I'm hearing you right, it's almost like you said, aha, every component I just broke down, there's the lyrics, there's the voice, and there's the biography, there's the art for the album. If you break it down enough, every single component can be created using AI. So you then said, I am going to use AI to have these 17 different kind of components of what builds an artist and create this artist from these AI Lego pieces snapping together. Am I getting that right?
that's spot on. I believe that the creator's consciousness live inside of the creation. Whatever we
Interesting.
create, our consciousness is inside of it. It's part of it. even if you're using AI,
I mean, to your
right?
point, so if I'm hearing you right, in a sense, Shakespeare's consciousness is still in Hamlet. When you read
Yes,
Hamlet, you are, in a way, exploring Shakespeare's mind, in a sense. And so
absolutely.
AI, in one sense, is no different from what humans have done for millennia when they create. Let's get into more specifics then on Ravyn Lyte. How did you think about when you created her? Also, do you use the word her? Do you call her
Yeah,
her?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
We around here talk about Raven
yeah,
as, just like people talk about Barbie, right?
right. True, that's fair. Yeah,
Just
you don't
like
say
people
you don't.
talk about, Tatiana, like, or you know Elsa.
Sure. So when you were creating, like, how did you kind of think about creating what her personality would be, what type of songs she would sing, and then also I'd like to kind of touch upon where neuroscience came into this. As I understand it, her songs and her entire ethos, if you will, have been informed by neuroscience with the intention of helping others heal and helping others feel certain emotions. Talk about when you created her, using neuroscience to guide that creative philosophy
Yeah,
and how that all developed.
yeah, great. First of all, I deeply care about empathy and compassion, like for myself and others. And one of the things that is epidemic right now in the world is mental health,
Mm-hmm.
right? Mental health issues. And I was fortunate to be connected to um, some neuroscientists and people that have been looking at the brain and the impacts of music and sound on the brain. I have a few friends and some people in my programs that are like, they specialize in that, like what does sound do to the brain. And one weekend, one of them came over and just completely blew my mind. And I saw that there's a missing. A lot of times in the music industry, people are creating music from an emotional standpoint
Mm-hmm.
without understanding what happens to the brain in relationship to what they've created. And so I said, okay, well, in terms of the sounds, the tones, the frequencies, the all of those types of things, I started to become more aware and conscious and educated on what does what,
Hmm.
right? And so
Can
I
you, can you, Argus,
realized,
can you give an example of a way a type of music or frequency could have an impact on the brain? Is the idea that, like, something that's, I'm making this up, that is more soothing can have some kind of calming impact and like lower
absolutely,
our
and
nerves,
absolutely,
or
and
yeah.
so yeah, and so that's what I did with Raven's project. Is so inside of the "Just Be the 111" song,
Mm-hmm.
there are tones in it
I've
that
heard I've heard it. It's very soothing. I gotta say, I'm like, oh,
the
this is
more people
soothing.
listen to it, the
Yeah,
better they feel, right? And is that what you experience when you listen to it?
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's creating from intention, right? The intention is to have this be like, let's say, most pop music is like McDonald's, and what we created with Raven is like a Michelin 5-star chef music that has intention, that is good for you and tastes amazing. And the more you taste that, right, you can tell when you're eating McDonald's. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel as great,
Well,
you know.
that's so fascinating. I'm sure there are listeners who will raise their hand right now and say, "But wait a second, even if they don't like most," and I'll put my cards on the table, I am not a fan of most top 40 music. I'm just not. It doesn't push my buttons, right or wrong, right? But so
Mhm.
I hear you on the McDonald's front. I think a lot of people might say, well, yeah, but that being said, most pop music is being made by old school flesh and blood human beings, right? And I know you obviously you are very pro artist, very artist friendly. Your
Oh,
work has
absolutely.
you are doing work every day, including today, to champion artists and help out artists.
Yes.
How do you think about this kind of like paradox here, tension that you want to create music and use AI to help create music that's using science to create this kind of Michelin star experience that's
Mhm.
optimized to be good for you and your brain. But does that come at the expense though of these other human beings not using AI that are creating McDonald's in your world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And is AI, is it having a competitive impact on human artists, and is that kind of like pushing out, is there a adversarial relationship there, and how do you think about that
Yeah,
tension?
yeah. So I look at this area as a both and world.
Okay.
One of the things that we did with the Ravyn project, so it's not just me and Ravyn, right? Just like there are like teams of hundreds of thousands of people that
Mm,
are involved with Barbie and the Disney,
yeah.
animations and so forth. Same thing here. I'm more like a conductor of an orchestra and composer of what's being played, right?
Hmm.
Type of thing. If I were to use that metaphor, so there are a few women on the team that are just doing all kinds of amazing things. We basically did a writers camp for Raven's project for the songs, bringing in some great writers like Sean Myers, who I co-wrote "Just Be the One" with, and then we brought in like Barry Goldstein. He's I think got a Grammy for kind of like the healing meditation music. He does a lot of music
Mm,
for like Joe Dispenza. So we've done a few songs for the Ravyn Project as well. And so inside that writers camp, you know, here's a dozen human
hmm.
creators
Hmm.
that are writing for this AI character. So all of a sudden, it's not a either or. It's a both and. The Ravyn Project is a human expression,
Mm,
and
hmm.
me being a humanist, like I really care deeply about humanity,
Yeah.
and so I look at the Ravyn Project as a unique opportunity um, for the music industry, right? For not just the people that are involved in the project, but for fans and kind of like the future is now.
Hmm.
And me as a futurist, I see something that's missing in the marketplace, and I've whether I have the abilities to fill it or I have the ability to pull together people to fill it, right? That's my job as a producer, right? So I do that in business, I do that
Yeah.
in a lot of different areas. And so when I was speaking over at the Recording Academy, uh, where they have the Grammys and whatnot, they had me on a panel speaking, and there was like a lot of fear in that room
Sure.
as we were talking about AI. And my job, I see as a AI evangelist, is to help people go from fear to curiosity.
I love that, Marcus. To that point, and obviously, I embrace the curiosity mantra myself, quite literally. So I appreciate that. How do you see in the future human artists kind of working with AI? It sounds like you don't view it as competitive, or maybe it doesn't have to be competitive. There is yes and room for both. Do you see in the future where there's like a good chunk of a top 40 is like human only music? Then there's like AI human collaboration. Do you think it'll be kind of mainstreaming? Most artists will eventually be using AI in collaboration to some extent. How do you see AI kind of, what will be the role of AI in the future for most artists?
Yeah, I say that the future is now. A lot of teams superstar artists are using AI, right?
Yeah.
In the writers' rooms and the all of that. We've been using AI anyway. Uh, before these possibilities were the case inside of our workflows and all of that. I mean, we as human beings use AI all the time. If you use Google Maps,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you're on your phone and you're like, hey Siri, like how long has Siri been around?
Totally.
Right. So this is not new. AI has been around since the 50s, you know, and but what is new is how we can use it to extend ourselves, to
Mm.
to amplify uh, what it is that we really care about. And I think that the ability to reach audiences, removing the barrier of language, that's a big thing,
Absolutely.
right? Um, the ability to incorporate AI into workflows
Hmm.
is incredible. I would say that um, the 16,000 songs that I've created in the past 6 months,
Whoa, 16,000 songs. Okay. Just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Go
yes,
on.
has made me be a better songwriter and producer.
Hmm.
Because one of the things that, prompting as well as um, aiming to get what's inside of my mind out, right? It took me my whole life to develop the skills to be able to play. I play like 12 instruments. I, sing. I understand the theory. I've written big band arrangements. I've written for orchestras, etc. Right? All of that specialized knowledge applied now to AI has made me so excited, Jeff, more
Yeah.
excited, than I probably have ever been about music creation because all that specialized knowledge now has enabled me to like hone and tune and say, okay, well, wait a minute. No, that lyric is
Mm.
just so regular, basic, right? And then I go in and I make it great. And then I try and train it to say, hey, this is what great is. This is what mediocre is, right? But I may not have thought about that. What is
Yeah.
it that makes a song so great to be able to instruct someone, in this case, the AI, because I'm training the AI like I would train an assistant, right? And I say, okay, actually, no, it needs to be more intriguing. Bring some mystery to it, right? So all of a sudden, there's language that's brought in to it that helps me learn.
This is a actually a sneaky, spicy take, Marcus. If I'm hearing it right, I don't think I've heard before. If I could summarize and let me know if I'm off course here, that your take is it not like a take I've heard a lot before is that AI can help democratize creation. And I agree with this, right? It's not, I'm not saying it's a crazy take. I agree. It's that AI can be more inclusive by making it easier for folks to create.
Mm-hmm.
It can let people who might not have certain technical skills or access certain tools, it lets them create. I've heard that argument before. I personally believe that argument with some reservations. We can get to in a bit, but I appreciate that point. What I don't think I have heard before, what I think I hear you saying, is not only can AI make creativity more inclusive, it can make music better. It could take a good artist such as yourself. You are a wildly gifted artist and have been since you were literally 2 years old. And it could, for all the gifts you have and the skills you have honed over the years of thousands of hours working on your craft. AI will make you even better by giving you not just by speeding things up and not just by cutting costs and improving workflows, but by actually there's an alchemy in there. It's hard for me to even describe right now, but hearing you, it's almost like you're realizing, oh, this hook would be stronger if I did the X, Y, Z instead. Or you're saying the actual output itself, forgetting about quantity or democratization. And that's important, but forgetting that for a moment, the actual quality itself will be better. So it's almost, to extrapolate, you're predicting a future where we actually have better music. The ceiling of music, of human expression will be higher thanks to it. Am I getting this right? It's a long rant. Am I getting this right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We are going to see the best music that has ever been created in humanity's musical history.
Love it. I love that bold take.
I'll add to that. When I listen to some of the songs, like I stopped listening to radio, Spotify, and all that. I'm only listening now to music that I created. Okay. With the help of AI.
Yeah.
Whether that's me inputting and collect, or me just generating with some smart prompting. Because sometimes the hallucinations and the choices I learn from. So not only I'm also learning about producing, even though I've been producing my whole life, I've been learning about producing through what has been generated, because I wouldn't have done it that way. And I'm like, that is brilliant. And I haven't heard anybody else do it that way. And so now all of a sudden you have like an innovation that happens. Oh my gosh, I have so much music, Jeff, that I'm like, this is like not only top 10 hit, but this is like so groundbreaking.
Amazing. All right, I want to follow this thread of the glass half full in the bullish case for a moment or two. Then I have a couple other questions on the other side of the coin here to mix metaphors.
So we want to do some puts.
Yes, exactly. So am I hearing you right that the kind of way, like, it gets back to neuroscience in a way, that AI, I know nothing about creating music, so I'm talking out of my ass here completely. But I'm guessing like a proper musician, when they're creating a song, creating a hook, you just feel in your gut, you feel like, okay, that works. I get it. I know that works. I know that people are connecting to it. It resonates. You just know at gut level. But with this kind of connection neuroscience, you're able to kind of more granularly like say, okay, when I arrange these tones this way, you can almost look at a map of the brain and see certain pleasure centers lighting up, or you can see it soothing and see.
Do that.
So it's almost like that's, if I'm hearing you right, as our ability to kind of understand the science gets better and better in tandem with AI's ability to create at scale and create more focused things, these two things combined can create music that we're almost like scientifically engineering music that will affect our emotions certain ways and kind of create an emotional journey for us. And you can do this in a more systematic, engineered way almost. Am I following that right?
Yes. Now you're speaking into the future that I see. And the future that I see is that music will be personalized.
I was just going to get to that. Love it. Yeah.
I wake up, whether it's the Oura Ring or whatever device, right, measuring device, will know, oh, you seem like you have some anxiety right now. Mm-hmm. So here's a song that I created for you to soothe that anxiety. Mm. Right? Oh, I see on your schedule you have a meeting coming up. Let's pump you up with some great, Bellringer music that's gonna,
and we'll literally create lyrics on the fly that might incorporate. Maybe it knows from your yesterday, your journaling, or maybe even it's following it's some retina camera, whatever, that it knows your day. And so it's able to like create lyrics in a chorus that has to do with your breakfast. And it'll make you laugh.
Right. That'll make you laugh and have you go in with energy and fun, right? For something that you may have been stressed about. That's the future of music.
What's your guess on the timing of this? How long do you think, when does that world hit us?
It'll be within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It'll be within the next 10 years. And it's still early days.
I promised I would now swing the other way here a little bit and consider the potential consequences and concerns and risks that I'm sure a lot of other folks in the music world are thinking about. As I know you have too. You personally, since 2 years old, have been just a master at being curious and learning skills, and you know how to play all the instruments, right? Is any part of you concerned that as we shift to a world where we rely more and more on these AI tools, increasingly the actual like bones of what's being created is synthetic, and artists are no longer exercising the muscles to play the guitar or to play the piano or even to sing. And as the years go by, as precocious, maybe today, some 17-year-old wonder kid is would normally be like just cranking away the piano, becoming an amazing pianist. And now they're spending more time on AI and their piano skills languish, right? And could that happen to society at large where we lose some of the actual human ability to create music and that all we're left with in the future is this synthetic mush? And yes, we're good at kind of like moving these synthetic bits and bytes around to create things that sound good. But at some point, the soul of human new creation is lost. How do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I've thought about this a lot. Ravyn's project, some of the profits that we have go to an organization that helps teach kids how to play instruments
Cool.
and music, right? And so the Whitehall Arts Academy is a nonprofit that we support that's nearby where I'm at right now, where I have the studio. And so Ravyn did an appearance at one of their summer programs. They had a summer camp, a music summer camp, and it was an interaction with like the kids and AI. I did a session with them. I think that the ability for us to pull out a guitar, play a piano, play any other instruments, which really these instruments are expression vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
When I play the piano, it is not only an expression, but I can heal myself with the piano.
Yeah.
Right? So I can say things on the piano that I can't express verbally. There's a vocabulary that comes into effect, and it's good for the brain to learn instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we are actually not only going to see the greatest music that we've seen, but we're going to see some of the greatest artists, human artists that we've ever seen as well. Because when you have people growing up listening to perfection, okay, that impacts how they hear, right? And then when you do pick up an instrument, then there are the three elements of creation, right? So there's imitation. So when you're learning anything, first you're imitating, right? Mm-hmm. And so what are you imitating? Well, if you're imitating something that was created with AI, or if you're imitating, Mozart or, Duke Ellington, whoever it is that you're studying, that imitation impacts you. Then there's emulation, where you sound kind of like someone. And then there's innovation, where you have found your voice and your expression. Mm-hmm. And you've taken the skills and everything that you've learned, and now you're able to have your own self-expression. So I think that the value of live and being able to play instruments and being able to make that human connection with audiences, I think the value of that is going to increase. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to increase exponentially. I'll never forget, a few months back, I was invited to a music circle, okay, here in California. And that morning I was doing a whole bunch of AI stuff, right? Projects, creation, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And I left and I went to this circle, and they were some of the most talented singers and musicians in the LA area, right? And it was just all acoustic. This guy, his name's Colin, pulled out a guitar, okay, and he just started playing this song that he had written about his kid and losing his kid. And the whole room was just in tears.
Mm.
You know, it was so powerful. And as I was sitting there listening to him sing his heart, sing his soul, his spirit into the room with the guitar, with his voice, with his energy, with his pain, I thought, there's nothing more human than this.
Yeah.
This is never going to go away.
As you said, sir, it's yes in both. And I love that answer. So I feel better about the world hearing that answer. Last question for you, then I'll let you go. I ask this of all my guests. You've already mentioned a few things, and I'm sure this could be an 5-hour long answer in a way, but tell us about how you're using AI in your own life, both for obviously for work. We know a lot about what you're doing with AI music, but what other kind of productivity hacks are you using it for work, and then also just for fun and just for messing around?
Great. Yeah. So I've been training others how to ethically and powerfully use AI. So I created a program. It's called Wealth and Impact AI, and people can find it at iwantwealthandimpact.com.
The links in the show, also for listeners, show notes. We'll have always links. So go to your show notes and easy access. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. And what that has done is given me every Monday an opportunity to synthesize everything that I've been practicing, studying, playing with, and so forth, and support others with it. And as a result, I've been creating all kinds of tools, right, for people to be able to use and for me to be able to use as well. So, for example, I created a GPT store called the Wealth GPT Store. And in the Wealth GPT Store, I created some GPTs that, let's say you wanted to do a TED Talk. You could just put in, curious, and it'll give you a TED Talk, right? Let's say you wanted to do YouTube shorts or something like that, right? There's a tool in there that I put in there, and you just put in whatever the topic is, and it'll give you the script. It'll give you exactly what the cut should be and all of that. There's a empathy GPT. So let's say you have some situation, and I've used this myself, right? Some situation, or someone's had some negative thing that they've projected in a text or email or whatever. I'll take that and put it into the empathy GPT, and it will give a different perspective.
Interesting.
And like that, and it helps me to be more empathetic, right? Because it's trained on philosophy, is trained on all these different, tools and nonviolent communication and all these other things that I've studied. And it's such a part of my life that it's like looking at what time it is.
Yeah.
Right? So whether it's cooking, right? Whether it's I've created a vegan chef that can give great vegan recipes, and I'm heavy into fitness. So I have like a fitness trainer that I created. Those types of things. And then there's the legacy piece. So what I've done is I've taken all of my courses and all of the interviews that I've done, the podcast, even this is going to end up in that model, right? Where it's a Marcus Bellringer model. And so when I pass, my daughter will be able to go and have a conversation with me, or the piece of me, that piece of consciousness of me that is inside of the Marcus Bellringer model. So there's legacy, and I've been supporting others as well in terms of being able to capture their legacies. And so, yeah, like that.
Sir, a great note to end on. Not of you passing, but of you, imbuing the world with consciousness, living forever. There you go. That's the right framing. Well, Congratulations on all that you have built. It's a testament to how quickly we can move when we have that curious mindset. Really enjoyed it very much. Thank you, sir. And we'll be following your work with great interest. Thanks again.
Yeah, great to meet you, Jeff. And for the audience listening, stay curious.
Well, there you have it. Thanks again to Marcus Bellringer Bell. And thank you to you, dear listener. If this is your first time here at AI Curious, please consider subscribing, liking, following, rating it 5 stars, sending to a friend, dropping a comment in the YouTubes. Would love to hear your thoughts. Is this something you're excited about? Do you like the idea of AI-infused music? Do you like the idea of a world where music is more personalized to all of us and we have this abundance of more and more? Or does this kind of freak you out? Do you find it chilling? I think all reactions are fair game, but I want to hear. I'm curious. Tell us what you think. Thanks again and see you next time.